Hi everyone, my name's Ryan H. Lewis, and today we're going to talk about a topic that pretty much everybody cares about, that I know at least, and that's money. We're going to talk about how you can avoid huge AWS bills. There's really one main way to do it anymore, and that is to know when your AWS bill is getting way too high. Now, where do large AWS bills come from? Well, if they're expected, they just come from resources that you're using for your application or your product. But if they're unexpected, usually they come from one source, and that is resources that are maybe orphaned is a good name, or runaway resources, where basically there are these AWS resources that you maybe were experimenting with or started up and didn't realize were still around. I've done things before where I've created resources in a region that I don't actually work in very often, and I didn't even know that they were out there. And so I usually find out that I have these special resources out there when I get the bill, and the bill is not what I expected. So today, we can't really fix anything with these runaway orphan resources. There's not anything I know that will let you know when you're working in a region that you haven't worked in before. But what we can do is let you know when your bill is becoming more expensive than you expected it. And back in the past, there was a way to do this with CloudWatch alarms. Specifically, there was a feature called billing alerts. And setting up a billing alert is actually something that I usually tell pretty much everyone to do when they start an AWS account. Go in, create that billing alert, and set that CloudWatch alarm to a dollar amount that you are okay spending, for no reason, essentially. I usually set mine to $5 because I'm usually doing things in AWS, and so I'm going to be spending some amount of money. $5 is something I'm okay with. If it was more than $5, I'd probably want to be aware, because that's a little more than, like some pocket money. So that was the old way, using CloudWatch alarms. The new way is AWS Budgets. And essentially, it is these billing alerts on steroids. The nice thing about AWS Budgets is that with the CloudWatch alarms, you could really only set it when your forecasted charges, your total estimated charges, were getting to a certain amount. And this is not, if you're in a large company, or if you're even on a team, a lot of times you don't necessarily need to set it for the entire account, because you need some room to experiment, but you may have your application running on something. So, it didn't really fit. It was too simple. And so AWS Budgets actually came out a couple years ago. I don't know why I was so late on the train. I've only started using them recently. But what they let you do is they let you set budgets based on a lot of different factors. So you can slice and dice these budgets in terms of using the service types, tags, regions, all sorts of different ways. And you can basically say, I want for EC2 in the Oregon region to let me know when it's above $5. It's the same way as the CloudWatch alarms, where it notifies you, but it just lets you kind of create a lot of different vectors to set these budgets. And so it's really cool. That means it will work for individual AWS people like myself, where I can just set a budget for my entire account at $5, and it will let me know when anything goes above $5. But it also works with teams. You can set, if you tag all of your resources, you can basically say for the tagged resources with, product A, this is the budget I should be spending, and then product B, and things like that. So you can be very intelligent with setting your budgets, and you can know when things kind of get out of hand. So that's really cool. So what I wanted to do today was walk through creating one of these budgets and kind of show you what you're able to do in AWS. Here I'm in my AWS account, and Budgets is actually kind of like a service unto itself. It has its own dashboard and everything. Let me zoom in a bit. So it's in this, it's in like the cost manage. This is actually the billing dashboard, if you recognize it. And so budgets is a section in here. So let's create a budget, and you can actually see that you have a lot of different options here. Cost budget is what I use, but you can also do a usage budget, which doesn't look at cost. It just looks at how much you're using in AWS, which is nice. Reservation budget. So this is looking at things that you have reserved. And it only supports a few services, but if you're using these reservations, that's nice. And then if you have a savings plan, which I don't ever do anything large enough to have a savings plan these days, but you can set budgets on that. So let's set a cost budget here, and we'll name it, I'll just do account budget. And you can set your period, daily, monthly, quarterly, annually. I like monthly just because $5 a month is really what I look for. You can do a recurring budget. You can set an expiring budget. Not really, I haven't set one of those, but I'm assuming that you can maybe make an arbitrary thing where maybe, this year my budget is 500,000. That's not my budget, but if I was at an enterprise CTO, my budget this year for AWS spend is $5,000. I want to know where it is. And then you can specify if you want a fixed amount or you want budget planning. I haven't done budget planning, but looks like you can just set out a monthly amount for a year, which is nice. But yeah, you can set it for fixed. What's nice is it tells you the last month's cost, so you can use that to set your amount. If you don't really know what you should be setting it at, I'll set mine at the $5 I mentioned before. And then you can look at your actual costs, and this is unblended. So this is all of the costs that I have had to spend over the last year. You can see that I've had some fun months and some not so fun months. But here is where you can set these parameters, set all of these vectors. You can pick a specific service, like all of the EC2 services. And then it only shows you EC2. And then also it's only sets the budget for EC2, which is really cool. I can go ahead and just get rid of all of these. But you can see that basically any service that's in here is going to be things that you use. So these are, for this account, this is all that I've really used here. So you see that there's not a ton of options. Oh goodness, okay. Then you can look at linked accounts. So that's cool if you're working with more than one account. You can do regions, you can do instance types. So there's all different things, the tags, all these different ways you can slice and dice your budgets. If I leave it like this, if I don't add any of these filters, it will go for my entire account, which is what I want, because this almost requires a lot of planning and knowing what I'm gonna do. And I usually just wanna make sure I'm not breaking the bank. This is really nice. You can do actual cost, which is basically once for the month that it hits $5. Or you can do a forecasted cost, which basically looks at what you're running today and how much it's going to be at the end of the month. That's way more useful for me than actual cost. And then you can set the threshold when it's going to let you know. So it can be 80%, or I usually just say 100%. When it's greater than $5, that's when I want to know. So that's nice. And then you can put emails in here. I'll put my email address if I can type it. And it looks like you can also send things to SNS, which would allow you to set up lambdas to do certain things, like, I don't know, destroy accounts when they cost too much. And then I guess there's chatbot alerts. I haven't worked with this chatbot yet. So then you confirm your budget, you look at the amount, you look at when it starts, and you look at basically kind of all of the vectors and who's going to be notified, and then you create it. And I haven't actually created one for this account. I'm pretty sure I have a CloudWatch billing alarm, the old school way. So now I've got a nice $5 budget, and I'll be notified anytime that my entire account spend, my bill, is going to be more than $5. So that's basically AWS Budgets in a nutshell. Hopefully you can use this information to avoid costly AWS bills in the future. I hope you like this video. Please consider giving it a like or subscribe to my channel for more. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next week.